All right, let's jump right in. We need to talk about a piece of career advice you've probably heard a million times. In fact, we're about to see why clinging to it might just be one of the riskiest moves you can make in your career right now. Yep, you know this one. It's that old classic, right? The warning against spreading yourself too thin. Pick one thing, become the absolute best at it, and for heaven's sake, stay in your lane. For decades, that was the gold-plated formula for success. But here's the thing we have to ask ourselves now. What happens when artificial intelligence can master that one thing you do and do it faster and better than you ever could? Suddenly, that old advice, well, it doesn't just feel outdated. Honestly, it feels downright dangerous. And that brings us to what I call the specialist myth. This idea that your greatest strength is that deep, narrow expertise. It's becoming a huge liability. And why is that? Well, think about it. If your whole career, your whole value, is built on just one specific, repeatable skill, your job becomes incredibly fragile in a world where AI eats those kinds of tasks for breakfast. So what's the move? What's the alternative? The answer? It's about becoming what some people call a multi-potentiate. This isn't someone who's distracted. This is someone whose wide-ranging curiosity is actually their core advantage. It's what makes them uniquely AI-proof. And look, this is not some brand new, trendy idea. The greatest thinkers in history, they were all multi-potentialites. People like Leonardo da Vinci and Benjamin Franklin didn't become legends by narrowing their focus. No way. They succeeded precisely because they built bridges between completely different worlds, connecting art with anatomy and science with politics. Okay, to really get why this is so powerful, we have to pull back the curtain on this really cool psychological concept, the difference between kind and wicked worlds. Understanding this is the secret to why the rules of success have totally been rewritten. So, a kind environment is super predictable. Think of a game of chess or golf. The rules are clear, they never change, and you get instant feedback. You make a move, you see the result. In that kind of world, intense specialization is king. But the real world? Oh, that's a completely different beast. It's what's called a wicked environment. It's unpredictable, the rules are always in flux, and feedback is messy and slow. And this is where we see two different types of people. The I-shaped person has that deep single-column expertise. They're like a single strong pillar, amazing in a stable, kind world. But in a wicked world, they're brittle. M-shaped people, on the other hand, build multiple pillars of deep knowledge. They're like a bridge, and this allows them to do something incredible called far transfer, like taking a concept from biology and applying it to solve a marketing problem. And that skill, that ability to connect seemingly unrelated ideas, that's what we call transferable intelligence. It's that gut feeling, that cross-domain intuition that sparks real innovation. And here's the absolute kicker. This is the one uniquely human skill that machines just can't replicate easily. All right, so we get the why. That's the theory. But how do you actually do this? How do you build this M-shaped skill set? This isn't about just randomly jumping between hobbies. It's about having a system. And that's where the M-shaped blueprint comes in. This is a pretty straightforward 4-step framework that turns your curiosity into a real, tangible asset. We're going to walk through each one. Seasonal focus, collecting mental models, building a digital garden, and my personal favorite, the weekly concept collision. First step, seasonal focus. The biggest trap here is trying to learn everything all at once. It's what I call dash without depth. You get a little taste of everything, but you don't really master anything. The key is to pick one pillar, one big area of interest, and just go deep on it for 6 to 12 months. I mean, look at Da Vinci. He's the perfect example. He didn't just casually sketch some muscles. No, he spent years becoming obsessed with human anatomy. Then he poured all of that deep knowledge into his art. And later, he shifted his entire focus to something new, like hydraulic engineering. Each season of intense focus built another powerful pillar of expertise. Step 2 is all about how you learn. Stop collecting random facts. They'll just fade away. You want to collect mental models. These are like reusable frameworks for thinking, big ideas like incentives from economics or adaptation from biology. When you build this latticework of models in your mind, you start seeing the hidden patterns in literally any problem you face. Okay, so you're gathering all these amazing models, but you can't just let them float around in your head. You've got to turn your ideas into actual assets. People call this building a second brain, and for us, that brings us to step 3. This is your digital garden. So you grab a tool like Obsidian or Notion, and you start building a network of your ideas. And the one golden rule is simple. Never ever create a note that just sits there by itself. You always link it to something you already know. Over time, this thing becomes an extension of your mind, showing you surprising connections you would have never seen otherwise. And the final step, step 4, is a proactive habit I absolutely love: the weekly concept collision. This is where you intentionally smash your different areas of knowledge together. Once a week, you deliberately go out and explore a concept from a totally different field, and you ask yourself one question: how could this possibly apply to what I'm working on? This is where true original thought comes from. Now, that whole blueprint is really powerful, but I get it. It can seem like a lot. So let's boil it all down to one simple daily habit you can start today. Let's call it the polymaths habit. It's a way to train your brain for insight, not just for memorizing information. You know, Benjamin Franklin was a total pro at this. He didn't do that frantic, chaotic busyness thing we all do. He had a simple, low-energy routine that let him pursue science and writing and politics all at the same time. He knew that busy is often just a way to avoid the hard work of actual thinking. So what does this habit cost you? How much time are we talking about? Just this 20 minutes. That's it. That's all it takes to start rewiring your brain to think across different domains. So here it is, your smart habit. Every single day, you're going to spend just 20 minutes learning about one concept from a totally different field. Maybe it's how ant colonies are organized, or how a suspension bridge works. Then you just write down one single way that idea might apply to your own work. This one simple action trains your brain in analogical reasoning, and that's the skill that makes you irreplaceable. So here's the big takeaway from all this. You were never meant to just follow one single boring path. That whole idea that having a bunch of interests is a weakness, that's a relic from a world that, honestly, doesn't exist anymore. Today, the most powerful thing you have is your mind's ability to connect the dots that nobody else can see. So stop fighting your curiosity. Start treating it like your superpower. The only question you need to ask yourself now is, what incredible, unseen connections are you going to find when you finally let yourself explore?